Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the 5 before 5 podcast, where every week I read out my newsletter in which I share 5 ideas that blend expert insight from education, business, and health with the timeless wisdom of Islam. For this week's edition, number 19, the 19th 5 before 5, it is Al-Noor Academy Gratitude Journal. 25 things I appreciate about the school that has shaped me into who I am today. Last week, I wrote about how today would mark the end of my time as a classroom teacher. My final is now in the books, and my students are already harassing me to grade it. I previously shared my study guide, and now here is a link to the short essay questions themselves. I shared these questions with the students before the exam for 2 reasons. First, I wanted them to engage in critical thinking about everything we studied, knowing that I could only ask them a handful of questions on the test itself. As an aside, the choose random question feature of our Jupyter Ed grading system is a godsend that allows every student to have a different test and cuts down on the temptation to cheat. Second, I wanted to remind them that life itself is a test. Not only that, but we have already been given the questions and the answers that we will be asked in the grave. See FBF number 5, begin with the true end in mind. But just because we know the questions doesn't mean that the test is easy. In fact, it often means the opposite, because the expectations are higher. The purpose of testing, in my opinion, is not to write gotcha questions that reveal who didn't study, but rather to write critical thinking questions that require deep thinking and introspection to answer effectively. Giant Gratitude Journal. Now that this chapter of my life at Al-Noor Academy has ended, I thought it would be appropriate for me to write a giant gratitude journal in which I share all that this institution and the people in it have done for me over the last 10 years. In reflecting on what I have gained the most from my experience at ANA, 2 things rise to the top: humility and patience. Ibn Ata'Allah, rahmatullah alayhi, a 13th century Sufi and jurist, wrote an amazing aphorism: "Bury your existence in the earth of obscurity, for whatever sprouts forth without having first been buried flowers imperfectly." So many of my Harvard classmates used their degrees to quickly achieve positions of prestige and influence. Within a few years, they were halfway up the rungs of the corporate ladder and well on their way to buying a plane or a yacht. For many, however, their early success was built upon a shallow foundation. As a result, some have flowered imperfectly and feel hollow inside despite achieving the pinnacle of worldly success. By contrast, I feel that I have been blessed to bury my existence in the earth of obscurity by choosing to work at a small Islamic school that is largely unknown to the general public. The relative lack of status and limited compensation is humbling in the best of ways and helps tame my ego. Limited resources make us learn to do more with less and teach us patience in a way that is quite foreign in this land of plenty. When I left my last employer, I'll never forget what the headmaster told me during the exit interview. Schools like Al-Noor are the future of education. The costs of private education are completely out of control, and a small, affordable school like ANA, with a rock-solid ethos, is where you will truly be able to shape souls. I couldn't agree more. And now, here are 25 things I'm grateful for, split into 5 categories, of course, about Al-Noor Academy. First, Al-Noor is small and nimble, and this allows one-on-one attention. Last year, we had our largest graduating class ever. It had 21 students. See pic below. My current 9th and 10th grade English classes have 12 students each. Our small size allows us to give every student one-on-one attention in a way that a huge public school simply never could. Freedom in the classroom. The administration gives me nearly complete control over my curriculum and teaching style. I can design my classes exactly as I see fit, and this allows me to teach Shakespeare and Jane Austen alongside podcasts and films to young Muslim kids. I hate cookie-cutter curriculums and crave autonomy in the classroom, and this is exactly what ANA gives me. The ability to carve out my own job. ANA has allowed me to carve out a job that caters to my unique strengths. Most of the teachers teach 5 courses, but I have always taught only 2 or 3, spending the rest of my time on guidance and college counseling and other administrative duties. This mix fits me perfectly and allows me to go all in on my teaching. No red tape. Given our size, we are largely spared from administrative red tape. Getting things done at larger institutions is quite a slog as you navigate overcomplicated procedures. Here, things are pretty simple and straightforward. Affordable. While our tuition, moving up to $9,250 next year, is more than many of our families can afford, it is extraordinarily low by private education standards. Nearby public schools get close to $14,000 per student, and my old school had a tuition of more than $70,000 for international boarders. Our low tuition is a double-edged sword as it severely limits our resources, but it opens up opportunities for families who couldn't otherwise afford it. Second, Islamic atmosphere. First, we have an Akhira orientation. While most prep schools are preparing their students for life, we are preparing them for death, because this is when the real life begins. Teaching students that this world is only temporary, and that we must strive tirelessly to succeed in the next is the single most important feature of the school. Congregational prayer. Every day we get to pray Dhuhr Salat together as an entire school. They say that families that pray together stay together, and this seems applicable to us. Having students give the Friday sermons is also another fantastic feature. Brother Sufyan. At many Islamic schools, students do not take the religion class very seriously, but most schools do not have a Brother Sufyan. In addition to being our principal, he is a bona fide alim, religious scholar, and his course transforms the lives of his students. 99 Names of Allah. Every morning we begin the day with the morning adhkar, remembrances, and then a beautiful rendition of the 99 Names of Allah. See video below. This provides grounding and inspiration for the rest of the day. Unified goal. My dad used to tell me that he didn't believe in organized religion. I told him that he'd love us then because we are incredibly disorganized. But the one thing that unites us, and is the most important of all, is our shared goal, to earn the pleasure of Allah. Number 3, family atmosphere. We know the parents as well as the kids. School can only do so much. It is the family that instills the real values into children. By the time a student graduates A&A, we typically know the parents almost as well as the children, after seeing them for years at community events and at the mosque, an invaluable asset for instilling tarbiyah. The food. Our community knows how to cook, and their primary way of showing appreciation for the teachers is to send delectable treats throughout the year. Recently, the family of a student opened up the Port of Peri Peri restaurant, and I've never been given so much delicious grilled chicken in my life. We get to watch them grow up. My grades 6 through 12 upper school campus consists of a single building, a converted, literally, church. We thus get to closely watch students grow up over the course of 7 years. These deep connections are one of the keys to our success with the college process. Shark Tank Al-Noor. We have many competitions throughout the year where we call on standout community members to serve as judges. Just this week I hosted Shark Tank Al-Noor for my juniors and seniors, and we had a real estate tycoon, a fast food franchise king, a private equity guru, and a fintech executive passionate about female entrepreneurship as judges. This community involvement enriches us all, and I wish we had even more of it. My office. Because of my administrative duties and relatively light teaching load, I am lucky to have a small basement office that I've really made my own over the years. The many important and emotional conversations I have had there with students will, inshallah, bear fruit for years to come. Fourth, teachers and curriculum. It would be impossible to write this gratitude journal without mentioning specific teachers, but doing so opens up a Pandora's box. My sincere apologies for anyone I left out. You are all deliciously amazing, or at least you were in this cake. There's a picture of a cake that we were just given with all of the pictures of the teachers. First, our STEM department. Sister Siham is our resident math expert. She is a master teacher whose command of the material is only matched by her Zen mastery of classroom management. Meanwhile, Sister Sarah is our tireless science teacher who somehow manages to offer labs with limited supplies and always helps our students get recognized at regional science fairs. Islamic Studies Department. Brother Khalid is one of the most dedicated teachers I have ever seen. Because of gridlock in the visa system, he has been teaching online from Morocco for 3 years and is nevertheless consistently recognized as our most beloved teacher. Sister Asma has added teaching calligraphy and Islamic history to her many other talents, and Brother Farid's easygoing personality and genuine kindness brighten every school day. Sister Fatima. Sister Fatima, our school's registrar and its longest tenured employee, is like a second mother to me. When I need to vent, I go straight to her office and unload, and she never fails to give me invaluable advice and perspective. I think we both drive each other a little crazy, but we wouldn't have it any other way. Reuben. The unsung hero of ANA is our custodian, Reuben. He is one of the kindest, most patient, and professional men I have ever seen. He shows up early on snow days to dig out the school and mucks out the Aegean stables of the boys' bathroom every day without ever complaining. The Lighthouse newspaper and the legacy of Mr. Booth. Finally, I wanted to recognize one of my mentors, Mr. Booth, who sadly passed away in 2021. His first career was as a newspaper man, and in addition to being my predecessor as an English teacher, he started our award-winning Lighthouse newspaper, which our students have admirably continued to publish since his death. Check out the May edition of the Lighthouse. Mr. Booth's obituary, which he penned himself, and this old cover from our trip to Quebec. And finally, my students. The real reason I teach is because of the students. I think I connect well with them because in many ways my background is closer to theirs than that of their parents or other teachers. Most of the students, like me, are American born and bred, and we are all seeking out ways to celebrate our Muslim identity in a society that looks down on religion in general and on Islam in particular. The ANA students are truly amazing. Many wake well before dawn to come to school by train or have 90-plus minute commutes by car. While it sometimes takes a while, over the course of their time at ANA, they become mature, committed Muslims who, inshallah, will practice their faith for life and pass it on to their children. I cherish memories like going on early Sunday morning hikes or last-minute college visits. Our alumni are the future of our school, and many serve as college admissions mentors. This week, I got a few of my favorite presents ever. One student gave me a beautiful gold leaf journal, another gave me flower seeds, and a third gave me a tiny strawberry plant that he had germinated in the bottom of a plastic cup. I guess they internalized the message that education is about focusing on the seed, not the tree. May Allah reward them all with the best in this world and the next. Ameen. On my exam today, for their final gratitude journal, I asked my students to write 5 things they were grateful for at ANA. I promised that I would include some of the most memorable answers in my newsletter. This turned out to be a harder task than I imagined. You can see my process here. Inspired by Eugene Schwartz, who I learned about in our copywriting unit, I initially highlighted 47 responses, reduced those to 16 in the second cut, before finally arriving at these 5, some of which merge responses from different students. And here are the responses from the students themselves in their own words. I'm born Muslim and have attended Islamic school for most of my life. I can confidently say that I have never attended a school with such high-level material in religion. I would estimate that 80 to 90% of Muslim youth do not know much about their religion. I feel that my parents' decision to send me to an Islamic school has definitely made an impact in my life and brought me closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Next, it's the cleaner version of school, where I avoid the obscenities I am exposed to whenever I go out to pubic areas. I think she meant public. It's nice not to see kids vaping and doing drugs and doing zina and other haram stuff. The third one. I am grateful for the Dhuhr prayer. Back in my days of public school, during the winter, when the day was short, Dhuhr would begin and end before the school day ended. This didn't stop me, and I still prayed in a room, but it's nice to have dedicated time for the prayer here, and to be doing it with all the students and teachers. It's a much more special thing than doing it yourself in a small room. 24. Brother Sufyan is probably the wisest person when it comes to judging things from an Islamic point of view. He is the one that taught me how to truly become a Muslim and not someone who names themselves a Muslim. It is really nice to have someone to ask when you're unsure if something is okay or if you're experiencing doubts in general. I truly believe that he has taught us how to think and not what to think. If I were to, inshallah, make it to Jannah, he would be one of the few I would have to thank because of that. And finally, Alhamdulillah, this is the best English class I have ever had. In middle school, my English education consisted of reading from textbooks, answering short analysis questions, and reading confusing literature. I was not a big fan of poetry before, but now I've learned to appreciate it because of you. So for that, I thank you, oh Captain, my Captain. Okay, that concludes this week's Gratitude Journal, and inshallah, let's wait until next Friday for more. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.